Hey friends, I'm coming at you from a cute little park downtown in Banff, just right beside a river here. The park is pretty busy today, so I tried my best to find a little bit of a secluded spot, but if you hear voices and children screaming and dogs barking, that's just all part of the play. But today I was a little bit inspired to talk to you about a shift that's going on in my life. One amongst many, but one that I have talked about before. If you're someone who's watched my past videos, especially my time in Hawaii this time last year, you may have seen the video of me talking about polyamory and me choosing, oh, by the way, there's a lot of mosquitoes, so if I'm touching myself, that's what's up. If I'm touching myself, if I'm itching my body, that's what's up. You may have seen that video. If you didn't, in that video I expressed how I felt at that moment in time, at that particular stage in my life, that I resonated with polyamory more than I did with monogamy and being in a monogamous relationship. And if you're not too familiar what those two terms mean, monogamous is when it's just you and one other person who are intimate with each other. It's just you two, there's no third parties, you just share that love between two people. Polyamory is more of an open, expressive way to love, where you don't necessarily feel like you want to commit to one person. You may have multiple partners at once, you may have a main partner and a couple others. It can really vary, but at the end of the day, monogamy, two people, poly, open. So at that time, I really resonated with openness. And the reason for that being is because all of the relationships that I was in up until that point in my life, I felt very constricted. And when I reflect back on this, I've realized that those relationships didn't meet my needs, and there was always something lacking, therefore making me feel like I needed another partner in order to fulfill that need for me. Now, I would be with people where I would say, I love this person, I love them with all of my heart, but I also love this person, and I truly believe that it is possible to love multiple people at once. I fall in love all the time. I fall in love with traits about people. It doesn't have to mean that that's a romantic way of me looking at them. It doesn't mean falling in love equals romance. It doesn't mean that falling in love equals me wanting to have sex with these people. So, at the time, I felt like, oh my god, this is an answer to me feeling the way I've been feeling, and now I feel like because I'm living in a community where this is something so common and so popular, you know, poly was huge on the island and monogamy was very rare. It just wasn't something you saw often. You would see couples that were very open and they would have multiple partners, and because of this, I felt like I was able to express myself the way that I wanted to. Now, when I reflect back on this, I don't believe that I was proper poly. And when I say proper poly, what I think that means to me is being completely open and upfront and communicate with every individual about your intentions instead of just bouncing around and sleeping around people. I won't even front, choose to look at me the way that you want to, but at that point in my life, I genuinely feel like I used this label as an excuse for me to not commit to one person and for me to not have responsibility of someone else's heart in my hands. And I would tell people, you know, this is something new to me, but this is something that I feel resonates with me, so I'm gonna play and dance in that space. I did, and for a while, it was a lot of fun. But when I look back on it, it was fun in the sense of physical stimulation. It wasn't fun in the sense of deepening connections with people and really creating a solid foundation. It was kind of just me playing around and having fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. But fast forward to now, I'm with a partner who fulfills all of my needs, and this is something me and him have both talked about because he knows the kind of past that I came from. Now, taking into consideration, I wasn't in this polyamorous world for that long. It's not like it was years. I didn't really have partners where this was a thing in my life that was so prominent that me switching back to monogamy was foreign or constricting in any way. But because I dabbled in that world and I loved that openness, that is something that I carry with me in multiple different ways. And how do I carry that with me? Well, this isn't something that I currently have going on in my life, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But the way that that would manifest in a way that would make me feel really good was me having platonic relationships. What are platonic relationships? Platonic relationships are relationships where you can be very close and intimate with someone without it being sexual. So what does this mean? For me personally, this would mean me cuddling with people. I would have sleepovers with guys who weren't my partner. I would have partners at the time my main partner, and then I would have, you know, a handful of platonic relationships. Think of it what you will. For me at the time, that was something that really fit my lifestyle. And I was able to draw that boundary. I was able to say, this is a platonic friendship, and this is all that it's going to be. I would set my intention. I would make sure that I was really clear so that the other person didn't get led on. But then, over time, lust came with that. I don't necessarily mean that it always has to. However, for me personally, lust came with that. And what happens when lust plus that intimacy without the sexual aspect happens? Well, for me personally, it became sexual. Not with everybody, but it took my emotions. It didn't take my emotions, but it began to form emotions for people other than my partner, and this was not something that my partner would be comfortable with. So then I thought to myself, I feel uncomfortable, I feel constricted, I want to be able to love whomever I want to in whatever way I do. So I thought, you know, maybe I am supposed to be open, maybe I am supposed to be polyamorous, but I didn't feel like I was in a comfortable enough setting with people who were conscious enough to be able to treat that in a proper way. I was living in a ski town in Lake Louise, and if any of you have ever lived in a ski town before, you know the mentality. Party, sex, money. Pretty much. And so I didn't feel comfortable allowing myself to be open because I knew that would have me having a bad name. And besides the point of other people's opinions, I just knew that that wasn't something that was going to sit right with me in my heart. I knew that that was something that was feeding my root chakra in ways that weren't the most uplifting. Sharing my energy with multiple people like that, especially when they weren't conscious, was something that I was very wary of. When I was in Hawaii, I was surrounded by a lot of people with really conscious intentions and really conscious awareness. And now I'm not saying everybody, because there was still a lot of people who were not on that same boat. But at the same time, I was accustomed to having people being able to express themselves and communicate without everything being so sex-based like it is in most of the Western world. So why am I talking about this right now? Why am I talking about my past? And why am I bringing this up in this moment and also talking about my current partner? Well, because I really want to express the shift that I'm going through from feeling like I want to be open and always having that thought in the back of my head to shifting into wanting to invest not all of my energy, but so much of my energy into this one person. Am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? I don't know. All I know is how I feel right now, and how I feel right now is that I am with someone who fulfills every single need in my life that I feel needs to be met in order for a healthy relationship to cultivate and flourish. And this is a really special feeling for me because never in my life before have I felt like this. In every relationship that I have been in thus far, except for one or two of them, which were pretty short term but beautiful and oh, just so raw. 98% of the relationships I've been in up until this point, there's always been part of me that has wanted to be open, that has allowed my mind to linger into the what ifs of other partners and feeling like there was a lack. Coming from a place where I was like 90, maybe 75 to 90% happy, there was always part of me that wasn't satisfied. And the reason why me feeling the way I'm feeling right now is so special is because I have no desire to invest any energy into anyone else when it comes to forming a bond like we have. I'm not saying that I don't have a desire to not put my energy into anyone else, because that's not true. I love cultivating friendships and I love cultivating that deep bond of just human connection with other people. But when it comes to the sexual aspect of it and it comes to the lust and desire, I literally have not even a 1% desire to do any of that. And I think that the reason I want to talk about this is because I genuinely don't think you should be with a partner if they're not fulfilling all of your needs. Now, there's one thing that I want to clarify here. You can be with someone and they can be not fulfilling some needs, but the key is communicating. If you talk about it and you communicate it to your partner and you try to work on it and then, you know, you're still not having your needs met, that's one thing. If you're not having needs met and don't talk about it and just think, oh, this person's not for me, on to the next one, that's something that I encourage you to check in with yourself, because that person might not even be aware, because there's so many different types of love that exist in the world. And what does that mean? Well, there's so many different ways that people love in order to show their affection, and some don't match up with others. Some love way differently than others, and some show their affection to say I love you in some ways and not in some others, where some people might do the exact opposite. And I feel like as humans, we have this tendency to think that people can read our minds, our partners can read our minds, or our partners should know what we think. They should know how we feel, and if they don't, well, they don't really love me or know me. And that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all, because as individuals, we may be very similar in the way that we are with each other, but our upbringing, where we stand right now with the tools that we have, that we've been given up until this point, that's all that we have to work with, right? So if you're with someone and you feel like something's lacking, talk to them, go from there. But I do think that if you try to work on something and it doesn't end up making you feel loved the way that you want to be, I encourage you to take time for yourself and really just root into who you are, what you want, and be that person, because if you do, you're gonna attract someone who's on the same vibration, and you're just gonna be in this space of bliss where you're just like, oh my god, this is something else. And let me tell you, it is something else. I've never had something like this before. I've never felt the way I feel about him before. Is that to say that he's the end all be all for me? Definitely not. But all I know is what I've had up until this point. And shifting from being so uncertain, always having a little bit of a hidden agenda, and letting my mind wander, to being rock solid in this person is my person right now. This person is my rock. This person is the love of my life right now. This person means the world to me, and I want to invest my energy into getting to know them. One thing that was a little bit hard for me at first when I did dip into polyamory was I felt drained. Investing my energy into all of these different people, and I wasn't really able to get deep with a lot of people just because it was hard to catch up. It was hard to be present and still have a life when I was doing this with multiple people. You know, and some people, this lifestyle rocks for them, and I'm not trying to speak negatively of those who live in that lifestyle. All I'm saying is the shift that I've had from then, mentally, emotionally, until now, is something that is very hard to put into words. It's a feeling. It's not necessarily something that is easily, I don't see, like, it's so hard. It's not something that I can easily explain. It's something that I know, and it's something that I feel. And will that change? I don't know. But what's important is to really sink into these feelings that we have in the moment, lean into them, and ride that wave. If it feels good to you, it feels right, you feel respected, go for it. You know, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad, no matter what anyone else says. And some people may say, well, you said you were this way, and now you're this way, and make up your mind. And it's like, as human beings, we are constantly changing. Our desires, our perception of life, our perception of ourselves is constantly evolving and expanding, and it's only normal for change of desires and change in the ways that we live to come with that, if that made sense. It kind of sounded weird when I said it. It makes so much sense in my head, but it's a little bit hard to perceive. I'm on my lunch break right now. I want to make sure time is good. Okay, I actually do have to head out, and I'm really glad that, oh, actually, ooh, music. I just want to wrap this up before I end up going. Follow what feels good for you. And really sit with yourself and ask yourself, does this feel good for you? Ask yourself if you're living in a way that makes you truly happy. Because I know for a while I was like, well, maybe I should be poly. Like, this seems like the right thing to do. And I was really on the fence about it, and it's good to question things, question everything. But at the end of the day, come back to you and what feels really, really good. I hope that you guys could take a little tidbit from this, regardless of what it is. It just came up in my mind today. This wasn't something I planned to do. I was like, you know what? I really want to talk about this. So I grabbed my tripod, I came down here, and here you go. And I'm probably gonna be late for work, so I'm gonna go now, but checking out with love. Today is an awesome day. Me and Adam are vibrating so high, and we're actually gonna film a video later together for you guys, talking about something that's super special to us, and we've been meaning to make for like weeks now, but every time we have it just like, I don't know, it just didn't work. So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna stop saying I'm gonna go and actually go, because my manager is gonna be like, you really need to stop being late. But it's fine, because she's always like an hour late, so whatever. If you guys had anything to say regarding this, or you resonated with anything I said, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know. And you know, judge what you will from my past videos, but this shift that I'm going through is super magical and I'm having a good time. So I'm gonna ride that wave as long as I can. Peace out from the mountains and I'll see you soon.